Alright, I'm going to show you how to re-ring your injectors. This is not going to fix a broken injector. It may help with some fuel leaking by, but if you have a bad injector, this is not going to fix it. This is just if you have to take your injectors out for any service, you're going to want to replace all the O-rings anyway. So this is just a maintenance item, not a fix to most problems. Now, the little copper washer on the bottom, sometimes these will go bad and cause an injector or a cylinder contribution issue. That may fix an issue. The rest of this is just maintenance so that when you put it back together, it doesn't have leaks. So I pulled this injector out. Starting at the bottom, you've got a copper washer, a little crush washer. When you put that on, see if I can get it where you can see it. Focus. You can see that it has, there you go, that little ridge. That ridge faces down towards the cylinder, like that, when you put it on. Make sure that you take your old one off before you put your new one on. Not sure this camera's wanting to do all kinds of weird focusing things. Okay, moving up, the next O-ring is going to be this white O-ring. See if we can get that to focus on there for you. So you got a white O-ring down here. Then just above that, you're going to have a black O-ring. These have a coating of some sort. I'm not sure what it is. Then you've got this blue O-ring typically. Now they can be different colors, but this is the mall kit that I bought. It's, let's see here. There it is, mall GS33711. This comes with all the O-rings you need to re-ring your injectors. So there's your blue one up here. This is going to seal into the valve cover assembly, or into the head assembly. But I think it's not wanting to focus. See if we can get it there. There we go. And then inside, see, I'm not sure you're going to be able to see this. Yeah, you can kind of see it in there. There is a typically red O-ring inside of here. This one is a very soft, like silicone type material, neoprene or silicone, something really soft. So you want to replace that as well. Okay, now the hard one. The rest of these are pretty easy. The hard one is a black O-ring that's down inside of here, and it is, that focused well, it's got a little ridge on it, sort of a square type, and this is a very hard, inflexible O-ring. I've seen a lot of guys online that don't remove the C-clip that holds it in place. They just stick in there with a pry tool and try to get a hold of the old O-ring, break it, pull it out, and then shove a new O-ring down in there. If you choose to go that way, which I don't think you should, but make sure you've got one of these, see if I can get it to focus again. One of these O-ring tools that does not have sharp edges on it. And you should check and make sure you didn't, see, I've actually got a sharp edge from something I did yesterday. Make sure you sand those and polish those off if you're gonna do that, because you don't want to tear up or nick this O-ring at all. It's holding back thousands of pounds of oil pressure that fires your injector. So make sure that you're working with dull, non-pointed O-ring picks when you're doing this, and this is really the only one I would use. This is I believe this is an OEM brand. I think Snap-on makes one as well. They're just a few dollars on Amazon. They work really well though. There you can kind of see it. Okay, so I'm going to stop this for a second, reposition, and I'll show you how I go about getting that top O-ring out and putting a new one in without any chance of damaging the new O-ring, and the way you're supposed to do it, at least partially. Okay, to get this top O-ring out, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this, I'm trying to add some light to it. The first thing you want to do is take a piece of paper towel, just a small piece, and stuff down in there to keep any shards of metal or anything from getting down too deep into the injector. You're going to pull this out and then use an air nozzle to blow it out later. But for right now, just try to keep any pieces of metal out of there. Okay, this little C-clip on the top can be difficult, and you need to be wearing I would say cut resistant gloves, or ideally put this in a vise. My vise is not in a well lit part of the shop though, so I'm doing this where you can see it. Get this in a vise. I would put either cardboard or a piece of wood on here. These are still the old O-rings, so it doesn't matter if you tear them up, but get the body of it into a vise that you're not going to mar the metal. If you have aluminum teeth on there, that'd probably be fine, or brass teeth, you'd probably be fine. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to take a razor blade, and of everything I've tried so far, this seems to work the best. And I've got the end of the C-clip right here. I'm just going to get it a little bit before that. I haven't taken any O-rings out of the top. You're just going to kind of wiggle that blade in behind it, and now we're out. You can see that I'm underneath that C-clip. Hold it down so it doesn't go flying. Kind of just work it out gently, and you're out. That took all about 5 seconds. The longest I've had this take me to try to remove the inner O-ring and shove the new one down in there was upwards of an hour for the back injector. So if you're gonna do this, go ahead and pull your injectors, buy a new set of O-rings, and just do everything the right way while you're here. Don't try to take a shortcut. It's gonna take you longer, and it's gonna risk damaging your parts anyway. Okay, now that that is out, there is a little guide ring here that kind of lines up the nipple cups when you put the high pressure oil rail back on there. Go ahead and get that out. Might be easier just to dump it. I was trying to do it on camera though. Kind of work your way around. Okay. This is directional. One side is square cut. One side has a little bit of a bevel to it. You need that bevel facing up when you put it back together. That guides those nipple cups in. Now that that's out, your O-ring just falls out. Don't mix up your old and your new. Your new O-ring is non-directional. Just set it in there, gently press it down, make sure it gets seated where it's supposed to go. I think that's pretty well seated. Okay, now you're going to take this metal guide, I guess is what I'm going to call it, this metal guide ring. Make sure your bevel is facing up. It is a very snug fit, so make sure that you get it lined up. Okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a new C-clip. You might be able to reuse your old one. This is pretty easy too though. You're just going to set it down, get one side started, and start working your way in. It's a little more difficult to put it in than it was to take it out, but not much. It would help if I had some manly calluses or something. Okay. I'm trying to keep this on camera for you too. I know my hands are in the way for a lot of this. You're getting there. Let's see here. I had a little wooden stick I was using earlier for this, a little piece of dowel rod that worked pretty well. There we go. Okay, C-clip is in. Make sure you get all the wood out of it. Kind of work around, make sure that C-clip is seated in there properly. Okay, that took 5 minutes on camera. It's a little bit quicker off camera, but I've never had one of these take less than about 30 minutes trying to do it in the vehicle, and you're going to run the risk of completely destroying your new top ring. So, throw that away. I like to get all the O-rings off at this point. So so you don't forget to replace any of them. Make sure you separate all the old ones from the new ones. You don't really need a tool to remove these. You can just squeeze them from the sides usually and then roll them out. Okay, I like to put the smaller one on first. Oops, off camera there. And get your larger one, which goes up a little higher. And again, if you're not trying to record this, this really does go pretty quickly. Got those on. This one is where you might want to have a pick to get it over the clips. So I have to get it started on one side and then work my way around. There we go. Okay, that one's in. Now this teeny tiny one, just gently get it pressed down into the groove that it sits in. Work your way around. Be careful not to damage the injector pins in here. Not sure why this one doesn't want to go in. This is actually the hardest any of them have ever fought me. What's going on? There you go. I don't know what this thing is, about an 1/8 inch piece of oak dowel. That comes in handy with these injectors a lot. Okay, now, should have taken this off earlier, this little copper crush washer. Kind of work your way around gently. Once you get it up a little bit, it'll pop right off, typically. There we go. Okay, now when you get your new one on here, you're gonna need this little socket. This is, I believe it's an 8mm. Yep, 8mm socket. And you need something for your injector to sit on so that you're not hammering on all the piece of scrap wood underneath this. See if I can get you where you can see it. Okay. Get your crush washer on there with that little ridge facing up. You can kind of start it by hand, but then you're going to want to use this socket to press it on. Just gently tap it down. It'll fully seat once you get it on the engine. You can kind of see that. Okay. Unless I missed something, that's really all there is to it. On camera, 9 minutes, 37 seconds. Part of that was running around the shop trying to find little pieces of scrap. That's how you should do it. You should never try to do one of these in the vehicle. And you should never try to remove that inner O-ring and put a new one in without also removing the C-clip and the retaining ring, the guide ring. It's so easy to get these rings out. I don't know why no one on here seems to want to do it that way. If you're going to replace all the other parts, you may as well replace that little C-clip while you're at it and not destroy your O-ring in the process of trying to make a shortcut. Here's another one. Make sure you're wearing your safety goggles and your gloves so that you don't end up with metal in your eyes. There you go. Once you get it started, it'll work right out of there. There it is. Gently work that ring out of there. Make sure you throw away all your old parts, except for that guide ring. These don't look to be in too bad a shape, but I was gonna have them out anyway. I wanted to get them replaced. All right, that's how you do it. One more little tip. Make sure that any O-ring you put on, any of those rings and all of them need to have some kind of O-ring lube. You can use engine oil, you can use some kind of assembly grease. I like to use this silicone super lube O-ring silicone lubricant. And no, as of making this video, they have not sponsored me. I like this product, and for these O-rings, the only ones I've found so far that I liked were these mall O-rings. I haven't yet had one go out. I may update that later when they all start failing on me. But right now, this O-ring kit has been the best one I've found, and it's only about $30 on Amazon. That is the one I would go with. So, I'm gonna take this back to the truck, see about putting it in, and that little oak or any kind of hardwood dowel, but something small diameter like that, that is one of the most helpful tools. Between that and a smooth-edged pick, you can do this whole thing pretty much with just those. The razor blade is helpful to get the top C-clip out, but be extremely careful. I'm just showing you how I do it. I'm not recommending it's how you should do it, but I just timed myself taking one of these completely, all the O-rings out of it, including the top O-ring, which a lot of people just don't do at all because of how difficult it is. Doing all those, it took me just over 1.5 minutes to replace all the O-rings, and I wasn't even rushing. So, much faster, just take them out of the car, replace all the rings you should do anyway. Don't try to do one of these half job in the vehicle things. It's just not worth it. And then for removing these plugs where they go through the, I don't know what you want to call it, the head or the valve cover box, use a 19 millimeter 12-point socket, and that'll slip down over these little clips. So when it's through the head, you've got your plug out here, remove your plug and then put that socket down over it and kind of just work it around, and then gently pull from the inside, or use one of those little O-ring picks to help pull it through the head. Or you can buy the tool. It's only about $7 on Amazon. It just takes a while to get it. Typically, it's about a week-long shipping process right now, even if you have Prime. But that's a little tip to get these out without destroying the clips, because if these clips go bad, you're gonna have a hard time keeping your injector harnesses connected and keeping these from falling down into the engine and allowing dust and debris to get down in there too. Hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching. If it was, please share it with a friend out there you think might benefit from this. Try to keep these Fords running.